I wanted to blow out a candle to celebrate this birthday episode. And I realized I didn't have a cupcake or anything cute. But because I'm 41 and really focused on strength training and protein, I have a can of tuna. So here's my happy birthday to me with a candle and a can of tuna.
Welcome to The Details with Allison Kahler, a space for real divorce stories and grounded conversations with experts, helping you find clarity and courage as you step into a future that may look different than you expected and better than you thought possible.
Welcome to The Details and to a very special birthday edition. Today is The Details half birthday. I launched this show 6 months ago. And when this episode airs, it will be August 25th, which is my birthday. So it's an exciting day to be with you all. I dressed up for the occasion. If you are listening in and not watching the show, I'm wearing a gold sequin blazer because if you can't wear a gold sequin blazer on your birthday, when can you? Am I right? This birthday is 41 for me, and it feels kind of momentous for two reasons. One is I'm officially in my 40s. So last year was the big milestone birthday of turning 40, but now I'm officially like in my 40s and settling into that. So that feels kind of momentous. And then the second reason is because the anniversary of my divorce is in a couple of days. I got divorced on August 27th, which is 2 days after my birthday. And so my birthday is always a little bit of a reminder of this other milestone in my life. And 8 years is meaningful in the sense that I'm coming up on the point where I have been divorced almost as long as I was with my ex. So we were married for almost 5 years, but together for just over 8 years. And so it's a very weird marker of time when you realize you've been away from someone longer than you were with someone. And so it just puts time in this very interesting context. But if you're like me, birthdays tend to be a time of personal reflection and kind of looking back on the last year and thinking about what you want for the year ahead. And as I look at where I am at 41, it's kind of crazy to say that out loud. As I look at where I am at 41, life does not look like what I thought it would, to be honest. And so if you are in that place, like you are not alone. Welcome to the unexpected version of life. But I think at least if you are a fellow millennial or in your 40s or early 50s, and this resonates with you, I think we were kind of sold this story of go to college, get a job, meet someone and get married, maybe buy an apartment or a house, have some kids, and then raise the kids, work this career, and then retire and live happily ever after, right? And that's certainly not the case for me right now, for some reasons that I've chosen and for some reasons that I've not chosen. But I find myself at 41, divorced and not married, not yet repartnered, no kids, despite having some eggs on ice. But at this stage, thinking that I probably will not use those and not be a parent in my life. And having massively changed my career over the past 1 to 2 years. And so life just doesn't look like what I thought it would if you would have asked me 5 or 10 years ago. And for a lot of my friends and other people that I talk to at this kind of age range, I think that's pretty common, right? This story of what we thought life would look like not turning out to be the case. So a lot of my friends have either gotten divorced recently or are going through the process now. Many of my friends are having kids on a timeline that's totally different than what they would have initially expected. And that has a lot of amazing benefits to it, but also some challenges. And a lot of friends going through big career changes, whether that's pivoting by choice and doing something different or dealing with the uncertainty of today's job market and finding themselves out of a role that they didn't expect. And so if you find yourself in a similar spot of not being where you thought you would be, I think that's becoming more normal, right? Or at least that's what I'm telling myself. And so that can feel simultaneously disorienting and confusing, but also strangely liberating, right? Like, I'm not where I thought I should be, and I'm comparing myself to what others are doing, but I'm pretty happy and pretty excited about what's possible, and kind of feeling sometimes a little bit like Kevin McAllister in Home Alone when his parents aren't home and he realizes that he can do whatever the hell he wants and just run around the house and eating junk food and doing all the things that he wouldn't do when he's supervised. And so I kind of feel like that sometimes. So as I look ahead to this next year of life and this next trip around the sun, I tend to treat birthdays quite a bit like New Year's, right? Like January 1st. And psychologists actually have a term for this. They call it a temporal landmark. It's basically a specific moment that represents the passage of time. And we often will also have something that we call the fresh start effect, which basically is why everybody's like, oh, I'll start the diet on Monday or on the first of the month, right? But it's this moment that sort of separates our past selves from who we are right now and who we want to be. And so whether it's January 1st or birthdays, they tend to have this effect of looking backwards on the passage of time and thinking ahead to what we want going forward. And so as a big goal setter, New Year's resolutions person, I've historically treated birthdays as a time to set goals for the future ahead. And I was actually reading back on my journal entries, as you know I tend to do if you've listened to this show before. Big journaler. And so given last year was 40, it was a very big milestone birthday. I had a very long journal entry on my 40th birthday. It highlighted everything that I was grateful for and really what I appreciated about my life, but also teed up what did I want to do over this next year as I entered my 40s. And I reiterated and doubled down on those things as I was setting my New Year's resolutions and goals for 2026. And there were two really big things that I wanted to do this year, and I'm super proud that I've made huge progress on them. The first is launching this podcast. I've known for a while that I wanted to do something to support people in the phase of life of divorce, having gone through the experience myself and realizing what a hellish process and time it was. But I really hesitated launching this podcast. I was afraid of kind of putting my voice out there, wasn't sure what I was going to say, afraid to be seen, all these things, right? And was just really unsure of what I was willing to share publicly versus what I wanted to hold back. And so I sat on it for a really long time. And so getting this podcast launched was a huge goal of mine, and so proud that this exists in the world. And this is episode 30, which I kind of can't believe. And according to some like online ranking thing or whatever, The Details is in the top 10% of podcasts globally, which is not like to toot my own horn or anything, but to say that like there are apparently like 3.7 or 3.8 million podcasts, and so many of them don't get past 20 episodes. So my goal for this year was just to launch this thing and put out a weekly podcast and stick with it. And so I'm just so proud of doing that. And I thank you all, if you've been along since episode 1, or if you're just tuning in now for the first time, thank you for listening. It means the world to me that you spend time to listen to this show. And I'm very excited to say that I have manifested a very exciting guest to come on the show in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned for more announcements on that soon, and be sure to follow or subscribe to the show so that episode lands in your podcast app. The second thing that I'm really proud of as I look back on the last year has really been getting stronger and healthier. Especially for all the lady listeners out there, weight and body image is something that's really hard for women. And it's something I've struggled with for my whole life. And, you know, my weight has fluctuated so much over the years. And I've tried like every diet, routine, regimen, everything under the sun. And this year, I think there was something about turning 40 that just put a different frame on it for me. And it was really more thinking about longevity and health span and all the talk about like perimenopause and preparing your body for that. So something just clicked in a different way for me this year. And I've really focused less on like weight loss and getting skinny and focusing on like strength training and getting stronger. And so I joined a gym this year and I started working out with a personal trainer. And I was like, my biceps are looking pretty good right now. But it's been really fun to feel like I'm getting stronger. And that's not just kind of physically, but how that's emanating out in terms of how I'm speaking and using my voice more as part of the podcast, et cetera. So I feel really proud of those things. And I have a crazy countertop full of supplements and creatine and other things that go along with it. But getting my 100+ grams of protein a day and having my trainer kick my butt. And so as I think ahead to the goals or intention setting for 41 and looking forward, I want to do things differently this year. To me now, it's less about what do I want to do and what are the goals that I want to accomplish. And it's more just kind of a mindset and an approach of being more present, sort of settling in and enjoying life. I made so many big changes over the past few years. Started with my divorce 8 years ago, continued with moving from Chicago to Santa Monica 3.5 years ago. And then last year, leaving the only company I had ever really worked for, unless you count waitressing at TGI Fridays and working at Bath and Body Works in the past. But aside from those, the only company I had ever really worked for and deciding to go out on my own and start my own business. And so I've made massive changes over the past few years. And so I think I'm done with the very big changes for at least a little bit now. And so this year is really about settling in. I think it's great to be focused on personal development. And aside from this podcast, I spent a lot of time doing executive coaching. So I'm constantly working with my coaching clients on personal growth and personal development and self-improvement. But the risk of all of that, especially as a Virgo recovering perfectionist, is that we spend so much time trying to fix ourselves and improve that we don't appreciate kind of who we are already. And so I'm going to try and lean into that more this year. And one of the tools I'm using for that is an appreciation and gratitude practice that I learned at the Hoffman process. And so journaling about gratitude is like certainly not a novel and new idea. People talk about gratitude journaling all the time. But the part that I love about from Hoffman is this appreciation component. So if you do this practice, you don't only think about the things that you're grateful for in your life, like the beautiful weather that I have here in Santa Monica, or my family and friends who I love so dearly, or my puppy Finley, for example. But it also asks you to say what you appreciate about yourself, right? And those could be physical things about you. They could be elements of your personality or how you show up in the world, but really taking some time to appreciate yourself and to acknowledge yourself. And I don't know about you, but I have historically been so bad at this, right? Every time I look in the mirror, I point out all the things that are wrong with me rather than what do I actually appreciate? And so my goal is to really lean into those practices this year of both gratitude and appreciation. So what am I doing to celebrate my birthday this year? I will say I had a pretty epic 40th birthday last year. My parents and my sister surprised me with a trip to Napa for my birthday. And so we had a wonderful weekend together as a family, wine tasting in Napa, and had an epic dinner at the French Laundry. If you've heard about it, it is like one of the best restaurants in the world. And as a total foodie, was on my bucket list forever. So it was just such an incredible, memorable experience. So this year for 41, not doing something quite like that. But it's interesting. I am not really a big birthday party person. I do like to celebrate, but I think part of it might be growing up as a kid with a birthday at the end of August, right? You're in that transition time of like finishing summer, getting ready to start a new school year. And I went to public school through 5th grade, and my class changed every year, right? So it's like, do you invite the kids that you were friends with from last year? Do you invite the kids in your new class? So birthday parties were never really a big thing for me growing up. And even as I think about my 21st birthday celebration, I went to college at Georgetown University, and there was this bar on campus that everybody went to when they turned 21 called the Tombs. And the big tradition there was on your 21st birthday, instead of stamping your hand to show that they checked your ID, they would stamp your forehead when you walked into the Tombs. And so everybody kind of celebrated their birthday at the Tombs this way. But I turned 21 over the summer, so I didn't even get that like in-person big party celebration. So I tend to have more intimate, smaller birthday gatherings. So this year I've got a few dinners with some friends, but when this episode airs and on my actual birthday, I will be in Madeira in Portugal. So I've decided to extend a work trip that I have in Portugal to go hiking, which is one of my favorite things to do. So I'm excited for some solo time to reflect, to be present, to be in nature, to enjoy travel and culture and food and wine and these things that I really enjoy about life. But really to take a kind of different approach this year to birthdays. It's less about big changes in goal setting and really settling into my 40s and into this like new way of being. And so if anybody has any ideas for how else to celebrate birthdays, especially in this next chapter of life, I would love to hear them. But I will likely have some form of dessert and ask the hotel or the restaurant to put some sort of candle in it. And I think as I make a wish for what I might want for this coming year, one thing that's really on my heart is finding that aligned partner. And I talked about this a little bit with a former episode on dating post-divorce and all of the trials and tribulations, including in that one. But I think one of the things that was hard for me over the past couple of weeks of thinking about this birthday is, even though I'm so excited for Madeira and traveling, I was sharing with a couple of my close friends, I was like, I'm worried I might be a little sad to be lonely on my birthday or to be alone on my birthday. So if I'm blowing out a candle and making a wish, it might be to meet that aligned partner for the next year and have that be part of my life going forward. But at the same time, I don't want the success or quote unquote failure of my 41st year. Wait, not my 41st year. I think this means it's my 42nd year. I don't want the success or failure of my 42nd year on this earth to be based on whether I met someone or didn't meet someone. So I think the intention I'm setting for this year is one for loving myself, accepting myself, and appreciating all of the love that I do have in my life from the friends and family that I hold so dear. So I'm going to welcome love in whatever form it gives me. And if I could make one additional wish on my birthday, if I get 2 candles, my second wish would be for more people to find this show. And so for those that have been listening for a while, thank you so much for being here. Please take a moment to rate or review the show if you get a chance and if this show has meant something to you. It really helps other people to find this show if they are also contemplating or navigating divorce or rebuilding life on the other side. Or if there's someone in your life who you think might benefit from this show, I would so appreciate it if you would pass this along to them. So with that, I will leave you there to go finish my birthday celebrations, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week on another episode of The Details.
Thanks for listening to The Details with Allison Kahler. If this episode resonated with you, be sure to follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts. And please consider sharing it with someone who might benefit from it. New episodes drop every Tuesday.